Baltimore City Sheriff. Today we're announcing the results of a coordinated enforcement initiative targeting illegal cannabis and tobacco sales in Baltimore City. And as Sheriff, I talk a lot about partnerships and collaboration. Well, this could not have been achieved without all the people you see standing here with me, and a few could not be here today. And joining us today are Senate President Bill Ferguson, State Senator Antonio Hayes, State's Attorney Ivan Bates, City Council President Zeke Cohen, City Councilman Jermaine Jones, and City Councilman Antonio Glover. And I am going to find my notes in a second, right? Excuse me, right? Thanks. Okay, so this press conference is not about the legal use of cannabis. This is about the proliferation of illegal smoke shops that are popping up all across our city. And we're here because the residents of Baltimore are highly concerned, and we're responding to those concerns. And when I travel across the city and I talk to different people, they say they want something done about smoke shops. And what concerns me the most is many of these illegal establishments are targeting and exploiting our children. Just look at the pictures that we have here, which shows that the cannabis products that are look just like candy, right, and are being marketed to children. We have legislators at the state and local level that are working on passing laws designed to fix the problem. And we have a state's attorney who's willing to prosecute to fix this. I want to thank all the partners that are here today, but especially I want to thank the neighborhood services team of the Sheriff's Office who's out there and they're doing enforcement work. What we're seeing is we're seeing smoke shops that are not smoke shops. We're seeing smoke shops that are weed shops, that are marketing to children and also selling tobacco to children and also selling unlicensed tobacco to children and also harming the community, and it's got to stop. And so this coalition here that I have behind me all takes this very, very seriously. And with that, I'd like to introduce Senate President Bill Ferguson, and he can come to the podium.
Well, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sheriff Cogan. It is truly a pleasure to be here on something that has become a scourge to the city of Baltimore. I'm so proud to be standing alongside other city leaders, our state's attorney, who has just been a remarkable leader in helping us to bring accountability and a thoughtful approach to crime prevention and creating public safety, to the council president, who has done an excellent job highlighting this issue, along with Councilman Jones and Councilman Glover, who have been just really incredible city partners. And then Antonio Hayes, who I will certainly don't want to steal his thunder because he was just a tireless champion year over year. This is one of the examples of someone that identified an issue. There were some real complications to doing something about it, but was tenacious and fought the way through to make sure that the city had the right tools to make a big difference. We hear about these unlicensed shops from residents across the entire city. These are not regulated dispensaries, and it's really important. We have a legal process for conducting these operations. That is not what we are talking about. What we are talking about is unregulated cannabis and tobacco, of which there is little to no oversight of what's actually inside those products. Sometimes we're hearing that these products are laced with other drugs, and the packaging ends up hiding the real potency. This is personal for me. I have a 13-year-old son who's in 8th grade, and he talks about kids in his class who get access to cannabis and tobacco. And I ask him, where does it come from? He says, they just go to the shops down the street. You know, this is not okay. We know the harmful effects on young people's brains of what these products can do. Used lawfully, it's a different story. But for 13-year-old kids who just feel comfortable walking into a shop that's totally unlicensed, this is unacceptable, and we know it has to stop. This is also a single step in what has been a long journey. With the Sheriff's Office, we've given the ability to deny licenses to bad actors before the door ever opens. I'm sure Senator Hayes will discuss this. Now we've given the ATCC, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Cannabis Commission, the ability to investigate, cite, seize, and shut down shops that are unlawfully selling cannabis and tobacco. State's Attorney Bates has been incredible at bringing the civil and criminal fines that are necessary to have real accountability. And of course, what is really important, I want to thank the sheriff for, is the Neighborhood Services Unit that the General Assembly was able to pass in 2 years ago to stand up to support BPD and provide that deterrent effort to really be in the parks, in the neighborhoods, at the festivals, being in the places where residents of this city want to see law enforcement so that we have the ability to have families thrive. And so I want to thank the creative thinking that has happened from the sheriff's office, the sheriff who brought us this idea that we were able to pass and now has been implemented. At the end of the day, this is about licensing, it's about enforcement, it's about penalties when people break the law, and it's about partnership. All of these are absolutely essential to truly make a difference, to create real public safety where, most importantly, kids can thrive. With that, I want to hand it over to, I believe, Senator Antonio Hayes, who was an absolute champion on this issue.
Good afternoon. I'm Senator Antonio Hayes. I represent the 40th Legislative District in Baltimore City. Also have the honor to serving as the Vice Chair of the Senate Finance Committee. Thanks to Senate President Ferguson for that appointment. I'm glad to be here with Sheriff Cogan, the state's attorney, council president, the council people who have joined us, and most importantly, our partners at ATCC. The reality is Baltimore City had local authority to legislate around tobacco up until about 2013. It was the Latatas case against Prince George's County that limited local ability to legislate around these issues. And so over the last couple of years, we've tried to unwind that because the courts have said unless the state gives express authority to our local jurisdictions to legislate around these issues, the authority to legislate in that realm was pretty much left up to the state government. And so we're very lucky this year with a lot of hard work and support from those who are behind me to pass Senate Bill 279. Literally right now, in order to get a tobacco shop here in Baltimore City, you need about $150. You take it to the clerk's office and you get a tobacco license, right? And that's why on Saratoga Street, right in our downtown, we have 5 tobacco shops on the same block. And so we're very proud of the men and women of ATC, the sheriff's office, and who are really cracking down on this issue. What we're seeing today is a direct result of collaboration. When law enforcement, regulators, prosecutors, and elected officials work together, we can deliver meaningful results. The reality is that Baltimore has far more retailers than any other jurisdiction in our state. And so when you look at the numbers and increases in tobacco and cannabis use here in the state of Maryland, they're disproportionately affecting young people here in Baltimore City, especially among those who are underage to even consume tobacco. And so I'm so glad of this partnership, happy to work with all of these individuals. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our state's attorney, the Honorable Ivan Bates.
Good afternoon. My name is Ivan Bates. Today's action sends a clear message. Illegal smoke shops operating in Baltimore City will not be tolerated. I want to begin by thanking Sheriff Sam Cogan and the dedicated men and women of the Baltimore City Sheriff's Office for outstanding work in this investigation and enforcement effort. I also want to acknowledge City Council President Zeke Cohen, Senate President Bill Ferguson, Senator Antonio Hayes, Council members Zachary Blanchard, Jermaine Jones, and Antonio Glover. Everyone up here has been fighting tirelessly to make sure we can protect the community and protect our children. They've been making this issue a priority and for your commitment to addressing the concerns of Baltimore residents. I also want to thank John Kelly and his team at the Maryland Alcohol, Tobacco, and Cannabis Commission, as well as the Baltimore City Police Department, for their partnership and assistance in trying to eradicate our city of illegal smoke shops. Over the past few years, our office has been inundated with complaints from residents, business owners, community associations, and neighborhood leaders regarding the proliferation of illegal smoke shops throughout Baltimore City. These establishments are not simply quality of life concerns. Too often they become the hubs of illegal activity and catalysts for both nuisance offenses and violent crime, undermining the safety and stability of our neighborhoods. The people of Baltimore deserve safe communities, thriving community commercial corridors, and businesses that operate lawfully and responsibly. That is why my office will continue to relentlessly pursue accountability for all criminal offenses with the understanding that we cannot improve the quality of life for residents, attract new businesses, or encourage visitors to come to our city if criminal perpetrators are not held responsible for their actions. Today's enforcement action is an important step, but it's not the end of this work. We will continue working with our law enforcement partners and elected leaders to identify and address illegal operations whenever they exist. Finally, I want to thank you, the community members who continue to report these illegal smoke shops and bring them to law enforcement's attention. Your vigilance, engagement, and willingness to speak up make these actions possible. Our work would not be possible without the residents who care deeply about their neighborhoods and are committed to making Baltimore a safer place for everyone. I want to thank you, and now I'd like to turn it over to our City Council President, Mr. Zeke Holmes.
Thank you, State's Attorney Bates, for your outstanding work in this space. Thank you to my colleagues, Councilman Blanchard, Jones, and Glover. Talk about them in a minute. Thank you to our state partners, Senator Hayes and Senate President Ferguson, for the great work you did this session as well as in the past. Also, thank you to State's Attorney, and I really want to thank Sheriff Sam Cogan for the relentless work that he has been doing with the sheriff's deputies here in the city of Baltimore. Look, let's just be direct. These places are preying on the vulnerability of our kids and our communities. They are selling poison. Oftentimes their products are unregulated. We do not know what is in them. They are, as the senator said, often selling cannabis without a license to sell cannabis. In that cannabis, we've seen all kinds of toxic chemicals. We've heard stories about children needing to go to the hospital because of something that they ingested. One of the most troubling and disturbing moments of my time as council president was when Councilman Glover and this council held a hearing and heard from a bunch of high school students about what it was like at age 13 to become addicted to vapes. Let's be really direct. They are selling to kids. The marketing, the advertising, the Skittles, the cotton candy, this is an old playbook, and it is about luring in young customers who they will addict for the rest of their lives. Let's also be very direct. When the people of Baltimore come to their government and come to businesses, they come wanting more grocery stores. They come wanting more restaurants, more neighborhood amenities. They do not come wanting more smoke shops. And yet in the city of Baltimore, there are over 1,200 of these things. Think about that for a second. We got less than 100 grocery stores and over 1,200 smoke shops. Many of them selling poison to our kids and adults. So I want to really thank my colleagues who have been digging in on this issue. Councilman Blanchard passed an excellent zoning bill which will limit the density and proximity of smoke shops to each other and will also keep them away from places where kids go, schools, playgrounds, parks. I want to thank Councilman Jones, who's working on a bill on luminescence. We've all seen the tacky lights that are a complete quality of life nuisance in our city in these smoke shops. And so the councilman is working to limit the amount of light that they can project. And then Councilman Glover and I have introduced a bill that would enable our police department, our law enforcement, to padlock repeat bad actors. Our message could not be more clear. If you want to continue to prey on our communities, we are going to padlock you and shut you down. I also just want to lift up, this is what partnership looks like. Folks at the city, state, and law enforcement levels all working together. No egos, just finding our lane, finding our ability to support each other. Because the city of Baltimore is seeing the lowest homicides on record we are winning when it comes to reducing violent crime, but people want more. They want us to go after those quality of life issues that make it tough to be in our city. And that is what this coalition is doing. So again, I want to thank all of the partners, and with that, really proud to call up my partner who is working night and day, who is out there in community demanding better and working to bring some real consequences to the people that violate the law repeatedly. Please welcome our brother, Councilman Antonio Glover.
Thank you, Mr. President, and also thank you to our partners. I realize, like individually, each one of us that's up here today, we could do great things, but collectively, as a unit, as a team, we could really change the trajectory of what's going on here in the city of Baltimore. This hits me personally. You know, I represent District 13, but when I see 13 smoke shops within 3 blocks of my community, it doesn't send a message of invite. It sends a message of we are creating the next generation of addicts. I am so happy to partner with some of the local organizations in our community, like Challenge to Change, that goes out in the community with me, that meet our young people where they're at, to turn around some lives. But there's one thing that was important to me that we seen that we did not like. One of the kids that we witnessed one time that was going into some of these smoke shops, Uncle T just found him in the back of his program in a parking lot with a needle in his arm. With a needle in his arm, shooting up. Again, we are not allowing individuals from on the outside to come in the inside to destroy our neighborhoods. We take this seriously. Baltimore really has a charm. But this right here, with these smoke shops, are really dimming the light on our city. And enough is enough. So that's why, when we put forward this padlock bill, and we are serious about knocking these individuals down and locking these individuals up, when we have at least one particular smoke shop in my district that's been raided 4 times within 6 months, but the reason why they're able to still stay open, because it's under 50 pounds of marijuana. That is unacceptable. Enough is enough. But I want to thank, again, my colleagues on the council, Zach, Jermaine, and our president, who has stuck overwhelmingly with me in this issue. And then to have our sheriff department to go out and say, you know what, we see what you see, we feel what you feel, and we understand it, to take control. And to have our state's attorney and say, you know what, Tony, we're with you all the way. You let us know. We see what you see. We feel what you feel, and we understand it. And now to go down to Annapolis, they have our state representatives stand up and say, you know what, we're going to give more authority to the city of Baltimore to make sure we shut down these smoke shops. So again, I want to say thank you to all my colleagues, and I want to say to the citizens of Baltimore, you can trust in us. And to those bad actors, enough is enough, and we're coming after you. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Oh, no problem. You fired up. No, but a good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilman Jermaine Jones. I have the honor of representing District 12. First, I just want to say thank you to Sheriff Kogan and his team, the men and women of the Sheriff's Department on this bus, but also say thank you to everyone behind me. Y'all been thanked individually enough, so I'm not going to go through the point. But in District 12, we don't have a shortage of smoke shops. We don't. And as I'm out in community meetings and talking to residents, one question I'm asked all the time is, what can we do about the smoke shops? You know, I remember having conversations even with Miss Virginia. She's like, what can we do? I said, look, I don't know right now because they're not necessarily operating completely illegally, but because it was too many. But we're going to get to the bottom of it, what we can do about it. And I'm proud to say this is what it looks like when we work on getting to the bottom of it. What we're doing today isn't about, hurting business, saying no to business. We support businesses being in our neighborhood, but there's a right way and a wrong way to operate. And when you operate outside the parameters of the law, we will enforce those laws. And when you're targeting our kids, we will not allow that to happen. Just earlier this week, I was talking to a youth group program, and about 10 students were in the room. And it was about being healthy and being active and running and playing and the importance of health as a youth. And we was talking about smoke shops and smoking, and I asked them how many of their friends had vape pens and so forth to school. Every one of them raised their hand, come across it. To my surprise, every single one of them. And these are middle school kids. They seen it in school, and their friends are bringing it to school. We have to protect our children. So today is about two things. One, not only protecting our neighborhoods, but also protecting our children and showing the people in the community we're going to do something about these smoke shops. I'm happy to partner with my friends on the local level, the create legislation, and also my friends on the state level to help us have the authority to do something about it. But even more importantly, I'm happy to have our friends in the sheriff's office and in the state's attorney's office to enforce those laws. Because I recognize that unless those laws are also enforced and on the ground, it doesn't mean much. So the last thing is about collaboration. Everyone said it before. In order to protect our neighborhoods, it's not going to be any one organization, any one group. It's going to be all of us working together. I'm proud to be a part of this group that's listening to what the concerns are of residents, coming together and putting together a plan in order to address the concerns our residents are saying they see it on the ground. They've seen it happen on the ground. So with that said, I want to actually introduce my colleague, Zach Blanchard, who introduced one of our first smoke shop bills to address this issue, and to say thank you for your leadership on that, and look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Man, this is what it looks like when the train's leaving the station, huh? This is one thing that is so frustrating to me, and most folks have been in office a lot longer here than I have, but when you have some entrenched problem and you hear it from all your residents and you hear it from all your communities and you keep banging your head on like how to get it to move forward and it just doesn't seem like you can get it going, well, guess what? Like a year from now, the smoke shops problem is going to be better than it is now, and then a couple years from now, it's going to be a lot better than it is now. Like this is actually what it looks like to have coordinated effort legislatively and executive on the city and state level to like actually fix a problem that is a very real problem. A very real problem, public health in general, particularly for our young people, a very real problem for our main streets. It's a terrible, like it is a terrible vibe to have, I share that block with Senator Hayes on West Saratoga Street. I think it's 8 smoke shops within 2 blocks of Cross Street Market. One of the ones that I believe Sheriff Kogan Reagan was in the 11th district. So it's just, sometimes in this line of work, it's really tough because it feels like it's Groundhog Day and you're beating your head trying to solve problems, and it's just hard to turn the corner on some of these things. We're turning the corner on this, and this is going to be, when we have this follow-up conversation, we're going to see it. Just a great example of it, something that in my zoning bill, we didn't even realize at first, but it was with close collaboration between both council members and some folks from the mayor's administration, we realized that we would be able to phase out, so we wouldn't have to grandfather in any smoke shops that are within 750 feet of a school, park, or rec center. And you know what's nuts about that in Baltimore City? That's about half of them. About half of the smoke shops in the city are within basically 3 blocks of a school, park, or rec center. And they'll have a 2-year phase out, a 3rd year with some extenuating circumstances for a couple of them, and then they'll have to leave. And that's a legally sound, safe way to do it. And it's just one of multiple ways that we're going to see this problem actually getting solved, actually moving forward. So really proud to be here with all the wonderful leaders behind me, and turn it back to the man of the afternoon, Sheriff Sam Kogan.
So I get the last word before we go into questions. This is what I have to say. To community, I say, look at the coalition behind us, right? You got people making the law both at the state and local level, and you have the state's attorney, and I, as the law enforcement, the one who's supposed to enforce these laws, we're going to be sending underage cadets into your stores, right, to try to buy tobacco and cannabis, and we're going to be sending undercover deputy sheriffs into your stores to try to buy cannabis, and you can see that we're getting you already with pounds and pounds and pounds, right? And this is what we're going to be doing all summer long, right? So be afraid, right, of that, right? Be afraid and don't do it. Stop selling to kids. Stop selling illegal cannabis to people, stop behaving this way. If you don't, right, I'm sure the legislature is going to pass more laws that will make it even worse for you, and I get to hand it off to the state's attorney who does not play around, right? And so to the community, we hear you. We understand you don't want this, and we are taking action, and that action has already begun. And we can take questions now if anyone has any.
So talk about some of these busts. Are they bringing them to a back room? Are they selling this out in the open? How are these smoke shops doing this illegal sale of these unregulated products?
You walk in, you say, can I buy some weed? They say yes, and they sell it to you, right? And they do it to our undercover deputy, right? He goes and records that, gets a search and seizure warrant. We go back, and that's where you see these pictures, right? You know, one case over 50 pounds. You know, I think we've seized over $370,000 worth of cannabis so far that was unregulated and untaxed. And then we refer it to the state's attorney's office, and he does his thing with that.
How many of these businesses have been busted or actions have been taken against them, and how many arrests were made in this bust?
Right. So we have ongoing things that are ongoing right now. We've served 2 warrants on people already, and I believe we have 4 arrests so far. One of the people, by the way, in one of these stores was picked up. They also were behind the counter, and they had a first-degree rape warrant that was not related, but, you know, they were in there and they were also participating. So, you know, this is the kind of stuff we're doing. I know the police department is doing some things as well, but the sheriff's office, again, has a bunch of places where we have warrants that we're ready to file on people, and we're going to be arresting some more people in reference to this. And this is not going to stop. And it's so easy, right? Like I said, our guys come right in, right? Dressed in regular clothes and say, can I buy some weed? They say, sure, right? And they sell it to them, and then what we're going to do is we're going to lock you up, right? And we're going to take everything that you have. And we're also doing things with our cadets. The sheriff's office has underage cadets. They're under 21, and they go in and they try to buy tobacco, and they buy it every time. They sell it to them. Flavored tobacco that they're not allowed to sell, and then we look at it. It doesn't have tax stamps on it, and we get them for that as well. And so this is what you're going to see the sheriff's office do. And I want to, again, thank the senator and the Senate president and the other General Assembly members for passing the Neighborhood Services Unit through the sheriff's office, which gives us the resources and jurisdiction to do this kind of stuff.
Sheriff, you can't, to my knowledge, I understand the hands are tied, right, when it comes to the law. So you guys can't actually shut the businesses down, right? Would that be more where the padlocking would come in? I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, how the steps work to actually stop them entirely. Because you can make an arrest, right, and then theoretically, the next day, someone else in that business can go and sell it again.
I'm going to turn it over to the city council president who can answer that a little bit better.
Yeah, so our padlock law applies to the police department.
Okay.
The sheriff is state agency. Was talking to Senator Hayes about this. So our intent is we want all of our law enforcement to have the ability to shut down bad shops. I also want to be clear, Tori, that it's not a first-time thing. It's you have to have 2 violations. You go before an adjudicating board that is likely going to be our Consumer Protection Board. And I want to thank Councilman Dorsey, who passed legislation to create an Office of Consumer Protection. And then if that board makes the determination, your shop will be padlocked and shut down. So that is how Councilman Glover and my law works. Very interested in extending it. As the sheriff said, we're working on all levels, ATCC, police department, sheriff's office, but in terms of padlocking, since we can only legislate locally, and now that we do, thanks to the 2 senators, have local control of our police department, we are moving forward and making sure our police have all the tools they need. I also do want to thank Senator Hayes and President Ferguson. The law that they passed is extremely helpful. Senator Hayes is exactly right. Local government has not had enough tools to be able to address issues around tobacco. And so giving us the legislation to be able to more closely address this pressing local problem at the local level is extremely helpful as well.
Mr. President, if I could start with you, sir, and then follow up with Mr. Prosecutor. Regarding this hardcore coalition that we're seeing in front of us right now, you guys are serious. You're making that very clear. You touched on it earlier, but to be clear, what precipitated this hard action plan? Like you said, this has been going on for some time. Why now? What was the trigger now?
Yeah, look, Keith, we've talked about this before. The City Council has been on this issue really since the start of the term, and we've been working hand in glove, my three colleagues over here, to make sure this is a top priority. For us, this is about quality of life, and this is about a public health and public safety crisis. When we hear about our kids ingesting poison, chemicals that we do not even know what is in them because this space is so underregulated and people are selling whatever they want, whether it's kratom, whether it's got traces of fentanyl, that is completely unacceptable to us. Like you heard before, this is an issue that Senator Hayes has been working on for years. This is an issue that the sheriff, state's attorney, all of us, when we hear from our communities that they have had enough, we've had enough. And that's why you're seeing this powerful coalition come together and unify around this issue. Folks are tired of it. And like I said before, people tell us all the time, we want grocery stores, we want restaurants, we want fresh food. We do not want more tobacco or cannabis products all over our neighborhoods. Zach is absolutely right. Councilman Blanchard is absolutely right. We're trying to have excellent, beautiful main streets in the city of Baltimore. We don't need people walking down a street and seeing 4 different vape shops. It is a bad look. It's bad for public safety, bad for public health, and bad for quality of life.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Prosecutor, if I could follow up with you, sir. Regarding violent crime, like homicides and shootings, you've been very clear. You told offenders, your phrase was, bring your toothbrush regarding those particular crimes. Now you're going after these bad apples.
Yes.
What's your hardcore message to these smoke shops?
I mean, look, you have to just leave our children alone. If you don't leave our children alone, and if you don't change your business model, then you'll most likely be joining the other individuals that have their toothbrush as well. I think we have to be clear. It is our job here as elected officials to protect the community. But when you really mess with our children, we look at you a little differently. And I think everybody is united. Doesn't matter what part of the city you go in, east or west, doesn't matter southeast, doesn't matter your race, your religion. Everybody wants the same thing. You want to have the opportunity to let your children have a better life than you. The city has seen addiction through so many different generations. And we finally are moving from the violence, but yet we see the clutches of addiction right there looking at our children. And it's clear, if we as the leadership don't do something now, then our city cannot break the cycle later. And we must hold those individuals accountable. One of the things that makes these types of cases unique is because I can't tell you what the charges will be. You can go in there, you can get a person with 100 pounds of marijuana. It might be a little different. But are there 2 guns, 3 guns, 4 guns? Or you have a prior felony with the guns? Have you sold to the children? Have you not? So when we have that opportunity to push forward with a felony, we will. And we will be asking for jail time on these individuals.
Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor.
I want to follow up one more thing, sorry. The bills, Councilman and Council President, what is the status then of Councilman Glover and and also Jones as well? What's the status of your bills? And then is the deputies, as they make these arrests and they go in and do these raids, is that helpful when it comes to the repeat offenders if your bill does go through then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is 100% helpful because there needs to be a bright spotlight on this issue, and what the sheriff is doing today in bringing all of us together is showing how high of a priority this is for city and state elected officials. In terms of the status of our bill, it was introduced at a previous council meeting. It is now in committee. The councilman and I are working with all the agencies. What I'm really proud to report, and then I'll turn it over to Councilman Glover, so far, unanimous support. We asked the other night, we had the police department before us for their budget hearing, and I asked the commissioner and whether he supports our padlock bill, and he said yes, no hesitation. So what we're seeing, just like State Attorney Bates said, is no matter who you are, no matter where you are, people have had enough, and all of city government is uniting behind this legislation. Councilman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So kind of piggyback off what the President has said, I want to also give thanks to Delegate Caitlin Young. He did some things in the House that was able to get over to the Senate that made us here in the city of Baltimore be able to kind of slow those individuals down that want to open up these smoke shops. But I just want to be clear, I mean, even the mayor is on top of this as well. I mean, he's supportive of it. As he mentioned, the commissioner, he's on support of it. And even our local, police majors are all in support of it. They want the tools to be able to do the work so we can continue to keep Baltimore's charm. Yes.
Sure. I just want to ask Councilman Jones, too, the status of your bill, if you don't mind.
Yes, it will be introduced shortly in the next couple weeks,
Okay.
where we're just making sure we're getting zoning approval and everything else on addressing illuminants.
Okay.
But it will be coming up because it's definitely an issue, and it's a response to what some of the residents, concerns are, because many of these corner stores are being